Good day, everyone. Once again, I am Sir MJ, and welcome to our class. So I hope everyone is doing great today. We are now on our second week for our lesson. Last time we discussed music lesson 1. So for today, our topic for today is all about art. So for today, I am going to discuss modern arts, art styles from the various art movements. Now, before we proceed on learning tasks 1 to 4 for arts lesson 1, let's have a short discussion. Okay, so in all human history class, art has mirrored life in the community, society, and in the world in all its colors, lines, shapes, and forms. Now, the same has been true in the last 2 centuries, with world events and global trends being reflected in the various art movements. So for today, we're going to discuss various art movements under modern art. But first, let us find out what is modern arts. So what is modern art? So it includes artistic work produced during the period extending roughly from the 1860s to the 1970s. Now, Impressionism was an art movement that emerged in the second half of the 19th century among a group of Paris-based artists. The duration of the Impressionist movement itself was quite short. The name actually class, which is Impressionism, was coined from the title of the work of a French painter who is named Claude Monet, which is entitled Impressionism Sunrise. Now, as I've said earlier, under modern art, there are various art movements that we're going to discuss for today. And let's start with the first one, and it is Impressionism. So it is characterized by relatively small, thin yet visible brushstrokes, open composition. So Impressionism is an art movement developed by a group of artists in the late 1800s. Now, who are these artists? And they are called Impressionist artists because they are under the art movement called Impressionism. So the first one is Vincent van Gogh. We have Claude Monet, Alfred Sisley, and Alfred Degas. Now, we're going to discuss some of their famous artworks under Impressionism art movement. Okay, now let's have the first artist under Impressionism art movement is Vincent van Gogh. He was born on the year 1853 and died on the year 1890. Now, even though Van Gogh is most often labeled as post-impressionist, his style is very similar to that of the Impressionists. His paintings use very bright colors and thick brushstrokes. And here are some of his works. We have, of course, the famous Starry Night. We also have Starry Night over the Rhone and Cafe Terrans at Night. Our second artist is Claude Monet. He was born on the year 1840 and died on the year 1926. So Monet was the founder of Impressionism actually. He was one of the first Impressionist artists to paint a picture that did not look like a photograph. I remember what I've said earlier. The term Impressionism was named after his first work, okay, which is Impressionism Sunrise. So that's the reason why he's called as the first Impressionist artist. So Monet is most famous for his beautiful garden paintings, and some of those are Impression Sunrise. We also have Bridge over a Pond of Water Lilies and Greystocks. Our next artist is Edgar Degas. He was born on the year 1834 and died on the year 1890. Now, Degas is most famous for his paintings and sculptures of dancers. So ako si Claude Monet, mostly na kanyang mga paintings are captured from the garden. Si Degas naman, one of his distinct characteristics, halos lahat ng kanyang, a few of his paintings and sculptures are inspired by a dancer. Now, he loved to sit in the theater and watch the ballet dancers rehearse and perform. He also loved to paint pictures of cafes and people wearing. Now, some of the famous artwork of Edgar Degas are the dance class and sitting holding cards. Okay, so now let's proceed with the third artist under Impressionism art movement. He is Alfred Sisley, who was born on the year 1839 and died on the year 1899. So Sisley was an Impressionist landscape painter. Okay, balikan lang natin si Monet. No? Monet was an artist wherein some of his inspiration are from outdoor scenes or garden. No? While Edgar, most of his inspiration are about a ballet dancer. Now, for Alfred Sisley, some of his Impressionist paintings are inspired with landscape. So he was the most consistent in the Impressionist in his dedication to painting landscape and plein air or outdoors. Now here are some of his works. This is entitled Small Meadows in Spring, and we also have Lay Near a Small Town. Now let's have the second art movement under modern art from 20th century. This is Expressionism. So artists used paint and pastels. They sought to express the meaning of emotional experience rather than the physical reality. So by the definition itself, Expressionism is signifying the use of distortion and exaggeration by the expressionist to exemplify an event. Now, in the late 19th and the early 20th century, this was the time right around the World War I. Okay, so kaya ganun ang konsepto ng Expressionism. It's all about exaggeration, distortion, no? Which is the time, right, as I've said earlier, from the World War I. Okay, so Edward was one of the earliest artists under Expressionism. It was born on the year 1863 and died on the year 1944. So his father was Christian Munch, whose wife died when Edward was only 5 years old. So napakalaking impact nun para sa kanya. And he used that as his expression of emotion. Okay? At yun makita sa mga iilan niyang mga work of art, yung napagdaanan niya yun. Some of his famous artworks are, of course, the infamous The Scream. So he created The Scream in the year 1893. His other works includes Puberty. He created it in 1894. We also have Madonna from 1894. The next artwork is The Vampire. He created it from 1893 to 1894. The next painting is The Sick Child, created in 1907. Our second artist under Expressionism is Ernst Ludwig Kirchner. So he was born on the year 1880 and died on the year 1938. Okay, some of the characteristics of Ernst's paintings are flat. He uses bold colors. His paintings are more of faces at saka tao. Some of his works, the first example is The Street in Berlin. He created this painting in 1908. Other works include Marcella in 1909. Now, let's have the next art movement under Expressionism class. This is Cubism. What is Cubism? So it is the most influential art of the 20th century art. So the Cubist style derived its name from the cube. Okay, you know cube? A three-dimensional geometric figure composed of strictly measured lines, planes, and angles. Now, Cubist artworks were therefore a play of planes and angles on a flat surface. Ganun yun. Now, let's have the first artist under Cubism. He is Pablo Picasso, and this painting is entitled Ambroise Vollard. So this is an example of a painting under Cubism or using a Cubism art movement. Then you also have Juan Gris, and this painting is entitled The Guitar. Let's have the next art movement. This is Dadaism. So it rejected reason, logic pricing, nonsense, irrationality, and intuition. So it was a style characterized by dream fantasies, memory images, and visual tricks and surprises. Okay, so the first artist under Dadaism is Marcel Duchamp, and this is an example of his work. This is entitled Fountain. This is actually a painting class. Okay, let's proceed with Surrealism. What is Surrealism? So it developed painting techniques allow the unconscious to express itself. What does it mean? It was a style that depicted an illogical, subconscious dream world that seemed to exist beyond the logical, conscious, and physical one. Now, its name came from a term superrealism, surrealism. With its artworks, it's clearly expressing a departure from reality. This is an example of an artwork under surrealism. The first artist is Max Ernst. This is entitled The Elephant Syllabus. Let's have optical art. So optical art class, it is abstract with many better known pieces created in black and white. So hindi tulad ng mga previous nating art movement, they were using bold colors. Okay? Dito sa optical art, they were just using plain black and white. So the artist under this artwork is Victor Vasarely. And this painting is entitled The Painting Zebras. The next one is abstract illusionism. What is abstract illusionism? So it uses visual language of shape, form, and color and line to create a composition which may exist with a degree of independence from the visual reference of the world. So under this art movement class, the artist we have is Robert Delaunay. This is entitled Windows Open Simultaneously. Last one, we have pop art or popular art. It presented a challenge to traditions of fine art by including imagery from popular and mass culture. So like for example, Andy Warhol, no? Their inspirations were the celebrities, advertisements, billboards, and comic strips that were becoming a commonplace at the time. So yung term na pop came from the word popular. So in other words, kumukuha sila ng inspiration from popular objects or personalities. Okay, let's have an example. Now, this is Andy Warhol. Marilyn Monroe. Okay, so that's it. Our lesson for week 2, which is art lesson 1. Now, lahat na natutunan nyo from this presentation ay magagamit natin for our next synchronous class, wherein I'm going to explain how to accomplish your learning tasks 1 to 4 in 30 minutes. Okay? So if you have questions regarding this lesson, you can ask it during our synchronous class. So that's it for today, class. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again.